It's rare that I feel compelled to make a video about a specific player, especially one who isn't even committed to Nebraska yet. But this is a special circumstance, and we got to talk about why Arik Gilbert coming to Nebraska could be the most important news that Matt Rule would get all offseason. Now, on last Saturday's live stream, I mentioned a secret five-star visitor, but I didn't tell you who it was because it just didn't feel like the right time. But today he popped up in the student directory, and if I had to guess, he's going to announce his commitment sometime in the next couple days here. Now, we got to start with a little background for those who don't follow national recruiting that closely. Arik Gilbert was the #1 tight end in the 2020 class, and he ranked as the 5th best player overall that year. He ended up signing with LSU right after their national championship season, and he started every one of the 8 games he played in as a true freshman and finished 3rd on the team with 35 catches for about 370 yards. He also ended up on the freshman All-SEC team that year. Now, an interesting thing I noticed when I look back was that against Alabama, after LSU was down a few guys, the staff moved Gilbert from tight end into the starting receiver lineup, and that included putting him in front of multiple receivers, including Trey Palmer. But after a big first year at LSU, he ended up leaving the program and he signed with a school closer to home, which was Georgia. Now, there's no confirmed reason for what's been going on in his personal life, but based on the comments I've listened to from Kirby Smart, it sounds like there's some mental health issue he's dealing with, and that's why he barely played these past 2 seasons. Because in reality, if he was 100%, he would have been playing this entire time, and he'd now be training for this draft that's coming up to get taken somewhere in the first round. But that's not reality, and that's why he ended up back in the portal again and started taking visits to schools like Nebraska, hoping to find a place that he can finally get comfortable at. Now, I know Nebraska fans are hesitant to get excited in situations like this, and I totally understand why. You had a guy like Omar Manning, who was a star in high school and then a star in junior college, but he never got it going in Nebraska, even though he was one of the most physically gifted receivers in the entire Big Ten. But listen, every one of these situations are different, and I'm not going to look at Omar's journey and let that limit my hope for what Arik Gilbert could do. And he's not 100% locked in with Nebraska yet, but let's talk about what he brings if he does end up in Lincoln. Gilbert's not a former 5-star who slipped down the depth chart and had to transfer to a less crowded room for more opportunity. He's already proved on the field in the SEC that he's arguably the best tight end in the entire country when he plays, and Kirby thought the exact same thing when he watched him in practices at Georgia. The typical 5-star transfer comes in because he wasn't good enough at his last school and he now needs to go against lesser competition. The typical 3-star transfer comes in because he ended up being too good for his last school and he wants to go against better competition. Arik Gilbert transfers because he needs to find a school who can help him get back to a place where he can focus on playing football, not because there was any talent or competition issue. If he signs with Nebraska and the staff can get him to play, he's a day 1 starter at tight end and the best receiving threat on the entire team. The offense will have a 6'5", 250-pound receiver who runs a 4.6 40 and can win one-on-ones against pretty much any elite DB he'll see in the Big Ten. Gilbert would be the highest rated recruit Nebraska's ever signed, and if he does play, he's a guaranteed draft pick purely off his athletic ability and potential. But if he gets his mental health back together, he's right back in the conversation for the first round. And Nebraska doesn't have a single tight end who started in college yet, and although Fedoni's expecting a big year coming off back-to-back injuries, he's still a little bit of an unknown. Now, it's not the perfect situation, but if this team starts the season with the former #1 tight end in the country in Arik Gilbert and the former #2 in Fedoni, it's hard not to get excited about what the two could do in an offense that wants to get the ball to the tight ends. Like I said before, he's not committed yet, so this is all just a reaction to some crystal balls, but I feel pretty good about Nebraska's chances, and I hope the staff can help him get back on track. But I want to know what you think, so let me know in the comments below. Do you think Arik Gilbert comes to Nebraska, or will he end up at some different Power 5 program with a little less pressure? If he does come, can he start day 1, or is Fedoni too pent up and tough to beat out for a job that he's been waiting to take over for 2 years now? I think in the perfect world, we'd get to see a 1-2 punch, or maybe even get to see Gilbert play out wide as a receiver, but who knows how it's going to play out. But that's all I got for you now, so thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next one. Go Big Red.